Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another spectacular episode of Bloodlines. My name is Derek Soto, and I'm sitting here in the Cyclorama studios over here on 47A Harrison Street. I think I got that right. Did I get that correct?
You got that right.
I got that right. All right, good. And I'm sitting right next to the middleman, Mr. Eddie Leeway Sutton.
Derek, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure. And of course, to my right, I mean left, because I don't know my left from my right, Mr. Last Pina. How you doing?
To be on here with you.
I'm excited and a little bit shocked because our production value just jumped up a couple hundred points. So, yeah, let's get right to this.
Roll with us, man. Everything jumps up a couple hundred points.
Yeah, I know, right? It's real classy, too, with the cigarette smoking and everything. I'm loving it. Eat your heart out, Jay Leno. So, my first question, obviously. So, Leeway has been back in action for a couple of years.
Quite a few, yeah. I'd say about between 4 and 5.
Microphone.
I started with going up and down the East Coast and Europe with another group of guys. But over the last year, I've made more of an effort to tour, and I play out with about 11 different musicians to make up Leeway NYC. I don't want people to assume the original lineup is together. Mm-hmm. So what you see is what you get.
And I mean, you had that This Is Hardcore over the weekend in Philadelphia.
I've been very blessed. I have a lot of fans that are actually younger than the songs, and they're just happy to hear the old music and to see it in a present setting, you know, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, dude, This Is Hardcore 2 years in a row. You played last year and this year.
And Truth and Rights got to
actually
play
3
my
years
other
in a row.
project.
It was 3 years in a row. So look at that. And then 2015, you win France for the Super Bowl of Hardcore. Is that correct?
Yes, I caught a lot of crap for that because there's only one Super Bowl, and that's in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun too. You can find that live set online on YouTube if you want to see that.
So it's refreshing to be back on stage.
I feel very humbled by it, to be perfectly honest with you. This is one of the only things I got right in my life, so to be able to be doing it now is a true good gift. You know, it's all about the positive memory for me right now. It's just that much fun.
I definitely understand that. I see it in the videos and whatnot, and from the positive feedback from the performances. So it's a huge plus to see you back on stage again, you know, over the years. But going back over the memories, we're going to take it back and real far from time.
Let's see what you got.
We're going to talk a little bit about Profile Records. And I just want to know, since I was only a baby back then, I was born in '87, so I want to know what kind of experience did you and the band walk away with after all was said and done with Profile?
Well, with an older mind and with more wisdom, I'm not as upset or as angry with Profile Records as I once was. I signed the same exact record contract as Run DMC, and Run DMC was the one that built Profile Records and gave Profile Records the opportunity to do what they did.
You guys were also on there with Chromax too. Chromax was
Murphy's
signed there,
Law.
Murphy's Law.
I was actually label mates with Motorhead. Were you? But yeah, they released Orgasmatron and reissued everything for Motorhead at a period of time we were all together. They tried very hard with us. They weren't always the smartest team on the block, and they got a lot of things wrong. But between them and Chris Williamson, despite all his fuckery, they gave us the platform to prove ourselves, and that notoriety has lasted 30 years. So, looking at it today, again, I'm happy that it all lasted. I'm glad that within this thing of ours, hardcore, the kids have to go back and learn where the roots are. I came from a time and place where, you know, we were just building and creating this thing. So it gave me the time and place to be where I am now.
And you were surrounded by a lot of other influences with other, you know, musicians and bands. So you had,
True,
you know,
no question. But I also grew up on 70s music, so being in this music that was built on a scene of nothing but misfits and outcasts, a lot of us learned to be individuals. And, you know, that really was the message back then, with no trend or conformity. And sometimes that gets a little twisted nowadays, but that's okay. It's just the spirit's alive in them. It's really what matters.
Well, do you feel that, you know, that opinion has changed over the past 30 years? I mean, coming from...
On some aspects, you know, I would like to see the younger kids and the adults integrate more. You know, I'd like to see the kids look up to better people within each individual community. And I would like more of the adults that have been around forever to, you know, put an arm around a kid instead of going, I've been doing this for 20 years now. What are these kids doing on the dance floor? Is this the fucking Rockettes with these spin kicks? You know, so, well, then why don't you show them how it's done, old man?
Exactly, you gotta teach
You
them.
know, at least they bring the fire, you know what I mean? So,
there's a lot of young groups out here now in, you know, in New York City and in New Jersey that actually, you know, continuing the hardcore style and the trend, and it shows, you know, and it's fantastic, you know, to me. I started listening to hardcore back in 2009, 2010. I was a late bloomer, but I got the message, and, you know, the family is strong.
you know, it doesn't matter, you know, when you find this, there's a sense of community because music and the bands are tangible. You can reach out to them. You know, you can't get that going to see One Direction. You know what I mean? You're relegated to a seat, don't touch nobody, and enjoy the show. Want to buy a $20 program?
Yeah, it's more interactive. Definitely understand that.
$30 meet and greets, $50 meet and greets, you know. You gotta pay to go say hi to somebody and take a selfie. The fuck is that?
That is true, and I definitely see that. And where
If I wanted to be a rock star, I would have joined the fucking boy band. Coulda.
I don't know. I like your attitude. You're not boy band material, at least to me. You know.
But I could try.
You know, Leeway has been taking up good live opportunities when they arise lately with phenomenal reception, which begs the question, is Leeway looking to record new material? And if so, would you want to record with a specific label, or would you want to be independent?
That's a few different questions I could answer. Again, when you brought back Profile and Chris Williamson, at least Williamson, and with the machine that Profile was, when we did get to open up bigger bands in the 80s, Chris gave us the opportunity to really shine, or if some people may say, steal the show. So again, they gave us a platform to build our notoriety. Do I want to record new music? I am recording new music. Not only did I release a side project with a group I call Truth and Rights, with the guitar players from Agents of Man, it's important to release something under the Leeway brand name. And it's not even so much to carry on the Leeway tradition. I've become more Eddie Leeway than Eddie Sutton in this thing. You know, even though those are nicknames or stage names, it's important to just simply carry that on, because I kind of became Leeway, even though I'm the only one standing. And I want to introduce the music. I want to keep pushing the envelope. I'm hoping the newer bands start getting with that instead of just trying to write beatdown riffs all the time, you know, and not try to emulate who they look up to, but actually be themselves.
Have an original feel, which was the entire purpose.
Well,
back then.
yes, in a lot of ways, yes. But, you know, I understand all that comes with time, and a musician should play with a lot of different musicians and not be restricted to one band. You know, that's the other thing about this music. So many guys from different bands help out each other and fill in at times of need, and it doesn't really destroy much of the identity, but it keeps the spirit alive, and everybody comes out and still has a lot of fun. And that's the bottom line. Bring a more healthy environment for people to be around, especially the kids, instead of being out doing something wrong or making a bad choice in life. You know, they could get away. When we were younger, it was about going to a show to dance and get our aggressions out. You know what I mean? I think it would be still the same for the kids today. Wouldn't you agree?
It is still the same from what I've seen. I've been working in you know, this community in New York City and New Jersey for 9 years now, and I still get terrified when I walk in there to shoot photography for these hardcore acts, because the aggression is up there. And it's new to me, but it becomes an adrenaline rush where I just want to keep going back in it. And
Takes a lot of nerve because you're sitting there shooting the band. You get cracked
yeah.
in the head
I've been punched in the face a few times during Sick of It All concerts and Biohazard and stuff like that. But
well, I'm on my 4th set of teeth. When you get there, call me.
yeah, I cannot compete. So you're doing new music, of course, and this is why Laz is here. Isn't that right, Laz?
That's right.
Yes, that's right. So you're the executive producer. Is that correct?
I guess that's kind of like a label that kind of fell onto me trying to put the organization together. You know, I mean,
But there's no way this could happen without Laz. Between him and Gordon Nances, who really represent me now, the things that are about to happen wouldn't happen without them. I can't do this shit myself. It takes a team, it like almost takes a village, and these guys, I've known them 30 years. I don't think there's anybody else I could even think of doing this with, to be perfectly honest.
It's funny how things happen. It started out as an idea for, I think, Gordon. I got together with one of my best mates, my bro, Gordon Nances, who also used to play in Leeway. And at one point, he was the most famous person I knew until he introduced me to Eddie. When I was in high school, discovering bands, the thrash scenes, from the Bay Area, like Metallica, Exodus,
Death Angel.
Yes,
Yeah.
Slayer. But then, I discovered the New York bands made me more proud. I'm a, born and raised New Yorker from uptown, and I wanted to support my brand. And this originally started out many years later. Fast forward, my desire to just spend more time with Gordon. We used to have a record company back in the day, and I said we need to start it up. Whatever we do, we'll always be happy. This rude man, what the hell are you doing?
He is running out for a cigarette.
That's all. That's all, folks.
So we discovered. So we talked shop a little bit, and originally I thought maybe we were gonna do a documentary on, and we were like, let's look for someone we know and love that could probably use, some of our help. Throughout the years, the knowledge you acquire and, the achievements put you in a better situation to help someone else that, in my opinion, should have been, a million times more famous and around the world, because, the music of Leeway is heard in modern bands today and in some of the big bands that I've toured with.
They're massive. It's a massive influence.
Bands like the Deftones and Korn. I mean, the members of these bands that grew up on Leeway, and it would have been a shame to, just not put some effort in digging something up. So originally it was, let's go find Eddie and start the process of a documentary, which turned into we didn't want to go into a record company, so we decided on being a management company. Gordon did some investigation, got a hold of Eddie. We arranged a meeting in New York, and
the rest is history.
From that moment
Let me
on,
tell you a little bit about serendipity. Because Gordon reached out to me and we all met up and we discussed this, it made a lot of sense. I too was scrambling at that time to try to rebuild. I had some good guys that I grew up with for a long time, and we were close, and we got to go to Europe, and we started doing more shows in this city. But also, I was trying to release Truth and Rights on my own label. So the combination of all of us working together was just what I needed. Or I probably would have floundered with trying to endure what I've endured to get where we are now. So it's simply serendipitous. We took a little time to get where we are now, but the next 12 months are going to be phenomenal.
So with that.
Well, let me just, Eddie came, he was still a little rough, a little hardcore, and he still, the last couple of years kind of put him on the defense.
Yes.
So it probably took about over a year just to open, even though our relationship go back many years, it took a little bit to finally gain the trust of each other, where we can agree that we have the same goals, right, which is to move forward together. And
we all have great ideas, but you could only choose a certain amount because we two are only 3 men, so there's only so much you could do in a time frame. you know, so we bounce so many wild ideas that can really happen, but which are the most practical at the time.
Yeah. So we jumped it off with the Eddie Leeway podcast show. We started producing a podcast show, brought in another friend of mine that I grew up with, the only metalhead in my neighborhood in Uptown the Heights, border of Harlem, and it turned out to be a perfect team. You know,
because I just love to talk shit.
So that, you know, eventually was leading into, you know, setting up better gigs, you know, just to kind of revamp his image, you know. So it's sort of like saying, you know, I've been, you know, out of the game and in and out.
But I'm gradually coming back.
But I'm gradually coming back, and this time to make, you know, a significant impact. You know. And so I started, you know, hopefully, you know, trying to gather a team together for this recording.
Yeah.
You know, at a show he met Dan, who's
Dan
from Doggy Dog.
The man who really made Doggy Dog to help them break in Europe in 95, 96. They won MTV Europe's video music award for best video, and they just lit Europe on fire. And Dan's one of the only guys that kind of weaned himself during the same time frame as me, down doing mid 80s shows at CB's and throughout the tri-state area. Again, another perfect thing that just fell into place as I made another transition at the start of the year with my musicians.
And the irony of it all, Dan Nastasi's band Doggy Dog, for a long time, were more often than not compared. His lead singer was compared to Eddie. You know.
Shout out to John O'Connor.
You know, which, you know, obviously he impacted him and influenced him, but Doggy Dog began to progress, you know, while, you know, Leeway kind of stayed underground and didn't achieve the world travel and record sales that Doggy Dog began to amount internationally.
But it came full circle, because just for the first time last Thursday to have the opening party for this year's This Is Hardcore in Philly, Doggy Dog and Leeway played on the same bill and co-headlined at the same time. And so it's beautiful that I'm still here to be able to have these full, you know, complete rides with all the people that I've touched during the years performing and playing together. And Coach Nastasi just finished winning the state championship for football in this state, and he's now gone on to become a head coach for a different high school program. So now you got two coaches in Leeway. How about that?
Yeah. No, and the team just kept getting stronger. So that was a big deal to get Dan Nastasi, who's a terrific, you know, songwriter, and to be that enthused this, you know, many years later to work with Eddie. And, you know, it was just like things began to fall into place. So we started the production. We started tracking drums. We started tracking guitars, the rough tracks.
You're working with of course, your bandmate Christian too.
So yeah, so
Christian
you know, since I've been touring, I mean, one of the records we heard a lot on my tour bus were Leeway records. I mean, we would boast all over the world. To us, they belonged to us. They were from New York. They were from the East Coast. They're one of us, and their presence is in our music, and we weren't ashamed to say it. So Christian was a huge Eddie fan, and I knew it all along. You know, I mean, we used to talk about it all the time. So when the moment came up and I knew he was coming here to do a record with Chris Barretto with Monuments, it was like, that was it, you know.
Again, full circle.
What time it is.
Completing the circles in so many different areas,
and
you know.
It's funny how everything just built up over the years, and now we're actually in 2018, and you know, like you say, everything has fallen into place, and now we're here in this moment. You know, all you guys are all together now.
I'm working
on this.
Sure. Now, I'm sure working with Chris also. I mean, talk about your experience working with Chris.
It was a very new experience, and the way it turned out, it made for a natural progression, because there was a fear here that, you know, old fans and new fans alike, when they hear this single, are they going to be able to compare it to old Leeway and say, is this Leeway or is this Eddie Leeway trying to do that? And Christian, being skilled at what he does, really helped to produce the vocals and the way we arrange these songs together. and it became such a natural creative process where now you're going to hear 2 tracks that you know this is where Leeway would have been if they kept at it. And being that I'm the last of the Mohicans doesn't fucking matter. It really just doesn't fucking matter when you start hearing what we're about to bring. So you could sit there and play that game all you want, but it is what it is.
But a lot of more exciting things. So, you know, as we began to progress with the recording and things started taking shape, and you know, I mean, we were in the room because Eddie was fighting us. He wanted to stay, you know, on the mindset that he was at, and
what the old Leeway style?
No, not the Eddie has moved on away from the Leeway style and has adapted additional styles.
I had to relearn vocals after severely breaking my neck. I have 2 vertebrae that were harvested from a cadaver and transplanted into my neck with a piece of metal. It makes me more death metal than all of Scandinavia and Florida combined. But, you know, I had a lot to relearn, and that's where Truth and Rights is so special to me, because they gave me the opportunity to work with really solid musicians and write again. And that whole fire to recreate, you know, started there. And I didn't have my confidence once Christian and I started, but the more I trusted him, the more things fell into shape. And if you think I'm Not Your Pusher, which is the first track we worked on, is a solid song. The other song that we have currently titled as Boy is a much more powerful song. So I could only imagine what we're going to do next together. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, of course. So I mean, like when you talk about, you know, the 2 singles that you're working on, are they going to be in the same style as songs like Kingpin or Enforcer from like your original?
Leeway always had variety. We're one of the only bands with a 4-album discography where every album sounded different, and every song on that album had its own flavor. I mean, we brought more than Baskin Robbins brought.
I think what we pushed for on this is to combine all those albums together, and I think you hear a little bit of that, you know, hardcore days, post-hardcore, you know, influence, a little bit of, you know, he's always had a melodic approach, a very R&B, you know, he's a New Yorker, you can't deny it, but that urban style has always been present, that, you know, maybe you felt the blues, or maybe you just, you know,
I come from an older place, but you know how hardcore and hip-hop are both street-oriented, alternative styles of music, and they blend and mesh together so easily. You know, you even take the guy that headlined This Is Hardcore, the singer from E-Town Concrete. He has his own hip-hop label. He does this whole other form of entertainment and provides a source of other styles of music, yet, you know, he's in a renowned hardcore band that reunited and did a beautiful thing this weekend.
But Christian was definitely the right guy. He knew all his records, and so I think that's when you began to kind of like feel the confidence in him, when he was just pretty much going through all your different styles.
He sold me. There's no question.
Well, I mean, from what I've heard, you know, with the Roughs.
And we got also specialness on the record. Gordon, who's also the original lead guitar player for Leeway,
So now,
who still has that profile contract, by the way,
special guest.
unsigned, is going to, you know, be making a
That
guest
contract.
guest appearance on the album with some leads and some cool you know, melodies to accompany, you know, in true Leeway fashion. And why better than not get the original lead guitar player?
He is here. He's behind the camera. Could you like pop out for a second, please?
Come over here, Gordy.
Yeah, come over here. Just like come around and say hi. That's it. Just, he's got to put down the guitar.
Leeway NYC has
Come here and sit
become
down.
really a family, you know, a crew of musicians within the effort of this cause and thing, Gordon. And to have Gordon in the mix and having somebody from the past working in with other guys that I've worked with or known for over 30 years and to form this team is beautiful. I want to give a shout out to Rhythm of Fear too, because Rhythm of Fear is the band that I toured with steadily the last several months. And you should definitely look them They're based out of Jacksonville, Florida. Again, the name is Rhythm of Fear. We did a track called Devil's Chair that's pretty fat.
So we're gonna do something kind of unique this time around with the music. So we're gonna release a 45, an A and B side.
Okay.
And we're probably gonna do that in succession as we move along.
Does this album have a solid stone name right now for it, or?
I like Born to Inspire, but you know, there's a lot of different ways we could go with this. We really can't.
We can definitely title this interview, Born to. Well, there's so many different renditions, but Born to Inspire is a good one. I like that.
Born to Inspire, Born to Aspire, you know.
But we're gonna do the 45s.
Born to Throw Fire.
You can buy the 45 and get a tangible, collectible piece, which in the genre is something that's
that's amazing.
memorable that you can hold on to. So we're gonna do 2 songs at a time. When we're gonna do probably, I don't know which single we're gonna do, but we're gonna shoot videos here as well.
Clearly.
And you're probably gonna shoot them, so
Wow.
Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, this is what Laz and all of us built in Laz's studio with his partners. It's called the Cyclorama.
And
if you take it, it looks like a skate park for midgets, but it's not.
I call it the bathtub, even though I fell in it the first time I walked in.
Did you?
But yeah, I did. I walked in the corner and I was just completely disoriented. But that's me. I'm a genius.
Which is great if I think you're perfect for the team because you're a New Yorker from LES.
It's still
You
an original.
understand. If maybe you were not around, but your roots are still attached to
I'm still
the
learning about my
core.
neighborhood and about my history and everything that's going on with it, and it brings me back because it makes me want to learn how life used to be back in the 70s and 80s.
The New Eurekan Poets Cafe.
And that's still
wonderful.
there, thank God. Yeah, but like everything else, that has unfortunately succumbed to gentrification.
It's got a fascinating organized crime history too, between the Jews and the Italians, as well as the Polish and the other Slavics that integrated into those little niche neighborhoods over the decades.
That's going to be another completely different interview for sure. He's going to get another cigarette. Bring the pack over here, Eddie. It's okay.
What time is it? Oh, Gordon, I'm going to have
Gives
to
me
step
something to do.
I need to step away really quick, so I'm going to let Gordon jump into the hot seat.
Okay, that's fine. Gordon,
and then I'll jump right back on.
In. All right,
so Gordon, you hold on to this.
Substitution right now.
That means I can't smoke out of respect.
So-
That way, yes, you're looking at 2 groups there. And you take a band like Incendiary that's definitely eclipsed the general fan base of that I have, and they're definitely drawing many more kids than I am, and that's a beautiful thing. So they are introducing newer people to this.